Quarterback is commonly considered the most valuable position in football. They get paid the most, drafted the highest, and get blamed if they lose. But could a team of only quarterbacks win the national championship? To find out, I put all 136 college football teams into a spin wheel and let it decide what team we would use to try to complete this challenge. And of all the teams we could have gotten, we got Akron, which if you don't know, there are only 2 teams that are a 0-star team in the game, and one of them is Akron. And I'm not gonna lie, I heard a little bit extra because Alabama literally was right there. But being Akron is gonna make this challenge a lot more difficult for 2 reasons. Number 1, it was gonna be really hard to get talent to be open to coming to our school. And number 2, we have so few hours because the number of hours you get for recruiting is directly tied to how many stars your school has. So even if we had people who were interested to come to the team, we would have very few hours to try to recruit them to come to our school. And those 2 hurdles were critical for completing this challenge because I only had 24 hours to accomplish this goal, and I was doing it live, so there was no cheating. But I came up with a very simple strategy for year number 1. Get as many quarterbacks assigned to the team as possible, and then ask everyone else to leave. Because even if we somehow won a natty with Akron in year number 1, it wouldn't matter because we need a team full of quarterbacks. So I started cooking, and I was able to land 29 total recruits in year number 1, including a 4-star that we got out of high school, which is huge because he had star development. See, the way that I was going to complete this challenge was by using College Football 26's position changing system against them. In patch notes early on in the game, EA said that if a player gets changed to a different position, their skill caps would be determined by 2 things. 1, how old they were, and 2, how good their development trait is. So the better the dev trait that we could get, the easier this challenge would be in theory. So for us, when it came to position changes, you could see we had a lot of star and impact dev guys. So the guys that I left as quarterbacks would be normal dev, and the guys that I moved to the other positions would be those star and impact players. That's how I chose. Take Marcos Davia, for example. He's 6'2", 235 pounds, and has impact dev. And since he's still a sophomore, he has a lot of room and time to grow, which sounds like a left tackle to me. So I went through all the boys and changed their positions, and I'm not gonna lie, it was ugly. So I decided to take that 25% XP penalty and manually progress all the guys on the team. And that did 2 things for us. 1, it helped me identify who I needed to cut. All I did was manually upgrade all the guys that I knew were quarterbacks because I just changed their position and their overall was really low. And then I was able to cut the guys who still had skill points left over so I wouldn't miss anyone. It was really effective, so you can trust that no one on the team left was not a quarterback. But 2, and this is the crazy one, it was gonna help me reset their skill caps next year, but more on that later. Because when it was all said and done, our first team of only quarterbacks was a whopping 35 overall. That's right, 35 overall in year number 1 for the challenge. But as we went through the depth chart, it wasn't that bad. Austin Carlisle was easily our best player at an 82 overall running back. Our wide receiver room was pretty decent, and our line was not horrible considering that they were all quarterbacks at one time. And I'm not gonna lie, our defense wasn't bad either, other than our cornerbacks and safeties, and that definitely will not come back to bite us in the future, trust me. But how would this team play in a game? Well, our season opener was against UNLV, and on paper, they were the better team. But the house was packed, and the boys were excited to play. And our first look would be on defense, a 3rd and 4, and we needed to get the stop. And we would, so there might be hope for this 35 overall team after all. There was no hope, trust me, there was no hope. Because of us trying to run the ball and immediately getting tackled in the backfield was any indication, it was gonna be a long year. But we got creative, and on the very next play, we got it to Austin Carlisle, and he was able to get a first down, and I was loving it. But by halftime, we were down 24-10, and by the end of the game, it was 34-17. We just didn't have enough firepower. And I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. I felt like the team was good enough to get the win, so it felt like user error that we weren't able to get it done. But I simmed the rest of the year, and the team went 1-11, losing to FCS East. Bad. 31-3. So it made me feel a little bit better that the team was actually sorry. But our first coach, Vic Tim Mindset, was released from the team after the poor performance. So I had to come back as coach Jackson Anderson, and I'm not gonna lie, he was way more developed than Victim Mindset, so this was actually a huge dub. But this offseason was where things would really turn around for the team because we were able to land an absolute haul of quarterbacks. But this time we were able to grab a bunch of 3-stars from Bama and Georgia, which meant there was a very high likelihood that they would have elite depth, and they did. So I went through and redistributed all of our new quarterbacks to the positions the best that I could, and here's the sauce. All of the guys that I had already changed their positions, I moved them back to quarterback and then back to that original position. See, what EA failed to tell us in those patch notes is how the skill caps actually work. See, if you change a left tackle to right guard, and maybe even they get an archetype change, their skill caps don't adjust at all. But if you change a left tackle back to quarterback and then change them back to left tackle, even if they don't have an archetype change, their skill caps will completely reset because it's not just dev trait plus age, it's actually dev trait plus starting overall in the position and age. So you can have the exact same guy, increase his IQ 2 points, and then move him back to a completely different position group, and then move him back to right where he was, and he will reset his skill caps. It's such a cheat code for a challenge like this. But even though I had figured out how to crack the code on this one, I made one huge mistake. See, when we got a new coach, our dynasty settings reset, which means the game auto-developed all of our guys. So we still had some good jumps, and considering that all these guys used to be quarterbacks, the team looked really good on paper, but it could have been a lot better, and the team's overall was only up to a 45, which is 10 overall points better than we were last year. And because of that, I decided to stop recruiting high school guys this year because we couldn't develop them, so every year you just had like 10 to 15 guys who were 20 to 40 overall at the bottom of the roster driving our overall down. But for the first game of the year, the boys would travel to the State University of New Jersey and beat the snot out of the Scarlet Knights 41-24. So I had a little dancey dance to celebrate, but it was time to move on and try to get our revenge on UNLV. And we would beat them 42-24 and then get our lick back against the FCSC's Judicials 28-21. And sadly, right here, we lost some footage because this was a 24-hour straight challenge, so I was getting a little bit delusional pretty rapidly because I started a little bit late in the day. So we lost some footage. Here's all you need to know. We had a great season and finished 8-5. And we were able to sign another great recruiting class, and by repeating all of the methods I talked about in the previous year, we had our team all the way up to an 80 overall. But I really believed that this team could win the national championship, so I decided to hop into every single game that I could and ensure that we clutched up. And after beating Miami on the road in our third game of the year, it really felt like that this was the team that was going to get it done. So by conference championship games, we were a perfect 12-0. I mean, did you really think we were going to lose to someone in the MAC after beating Miami? And a win against the Chippewas would send us to the team's first ever playoff appearance. And of course, we easily took care of business 35-13 and moved on to play Louisiana State University in the playoffs. You can't make it up. Good news is, though, Project QB would win us the Coach of the Year award, so that's pretty cool. But we did have some excruciatingly tough injuries to look at, like our 89 overall stud, Austin Carlisle, was going to be out for this one. But fast forward to the fourth quarter with a minute 25 on the clock, and we were down by score and had all 3 timeouts and needed to stop to give ourselves a chance to upset the Tigers in Death Valley. And on 1st and 10, it was a very predictable run that only got them 2 yards. But on 2nd down, they threw an absolute heartbreaker. That's right, they threw an absolute heartbreaker that the tight end was able to hold on to and end our season. And to be honest with you, Juju Lewis was actually Thanos in this one. I don't know how I thought we were ever going to win. But even though the loss was devastating, it was not demoralizing because we were going to bring our entire team back next year. And that same squad was all the way up to an 88 overall with a 91 offense. That's what I'm talking about, baby. But if you look at that list, basically all of our best players were going to be leaving after this year if we couldn't get it done. So it felt like, regardless of what that timer said, that this had to be the year for us to get the win. And we were once again able to go a perfect 12-0 in the regular season. And on the first play of the MAC Conference Championship game, we took back the opening kick return for a touchdown and carried that momentum into our 2nd consecutive conference championship. But in our first round matchup, the boys would draw our old friends, the Miami Hurricanes. And it's safe to say they were wanting revenge, but our roster was absolutely insane on paper at this point. So it was no surprise when we took an early 14-3 lead. And on the next possession, when Miami was only able to make it 14-6, I legitimately thought that this was over. So we'd make it 17-6 on the next possession, which wasn't what we wanted, but it was fine. Problem was, Miami still had a minute and 5 seconds to score, and I've proven plenty of times all anyone needs is 8 seconds. So of course, Miami finally figured out our fatal flaw. See, while on paper, the overalls of our quarterbacks that had changed positions were looking pretty good, the problem was our cornerbacks still had 80 speed because they used to be quarterbacks. So Miami figured that out and just started throwing nukes. And with a little bit over a minute left in the third quarter, Miami had finally taken the lead. And then to make matters worse, Zane Flores started launching absolute hot tamale red passes. So I, being the panicker that I can be sometimes, hit the old scared money, don't make money on 4th down. And unfortunately for us, we were broke and turned the ball over on downs. And of course, Miami immediately scored, and I did not take it well. But by the grace of God, we were able to come back late in the 4th quarter, and I was absolutely locked in, which was cool and all. But like I said, Miami had figured out our fatal flaw, and they launched another one up and took the lead again. And at that point, I should have figured out that this was a lost cause, but I didn't. And we kept fighting back. Even though I would throw an interception to Miami, which should have put us out of this, we would still get the ball back down by 3 with a little bit less than 30 seconds left to go. And on 2nd and inches with 5 seconds left, we would get out of bounds at the 42 and send out a once quarterback onto the field to try to drill a 59-yarder to send it to overtime. And he would miss. He'd miss. And I was absolutely heartbroken. I had the hand out there and everything. I was trying to aura farm. Das Boot rolled over during his CPA exam. He felt the disturbance in the force. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was ready to quit. I thought it was over. I thought that was our team. I didn't think we could have any chance of winning again. But the chat said to me, "Gots to see it through, my boy." So I came up with a new strategy. See, Miami taught me something. The deep ball's king. Always has been. So when I upgraded our new team, I made all of our wide receivers into pace merchants. Rodney Militalo, 94 speed. Prince Okoro, 99 speed. And this is a name to remember. 59 overall Jose Cadu, 99 speed. But could we win a national championship? There was only one way to find out, but look at that team on paper. We were absolutely insane. 99 overalls, once quarterbacks, playing offensive line, 99. Come on, baby. Oh, and before we get into this year, we got to talk about Quincy Sauer. We needed somebody with an absolute cannon, and that is exactly what we got in Quincy. He was able to throw certified hood classic nukes. 99 accuracy, 93 throw power, whatever it was. He could sling the pill. So I'm going into the season feeling real good, but I can't make this up. Second game of the year, we lose to James Madison on a last second touchdown pass. Because even though we had 99 speed pace merchant wide receivers, we still had 80 speed corners. We got 80 speed corners. It's horrible. Our defense stinks. But we would win out and beat Central Michigan again to go for our third consecutive conference championship. And you can see the smile on my face. After this has already happened, we would get the luckiest draw in college football playoff history. That's right. We would have a mid-off against Rice University in Houston. And let me tell you, we were way too much for Rice to handle. We put up 63 points on them because of old Cadu in just the first half. So we'd move on to play USC in the Rose Bowl, which felt like a little bit of home cooking. I'm not gonna lie, how'd they get the Rose Bowl? Doesn't seem right. But this would be our team's first real test of the year. Other than the James Madison thing, that's neither here nor there. And you remember Cadu? I told you to remember that name. This is the exact play that we used all year to get us in the position that we're in. It was also the play that we used to beat USC 52-28. It wasn't even close. I'm not gonna bore you with the details. We were throwing up nukes. He was catching them. USC couldn't guard us. But our semifinal matchup would easily be the hardest game of college football 26 I've ever played, and it was against none other than my alma mater, the University of Oklahoma. I mean, this game legitimately was a dogfight. It wasn't over until the final whistle. So let me set the stage. By the end of the first half, we were up 56-33. And at this point, it was about noon, so I had been up for well over 24 hours straight. So OU starts to creep back into the game. 5 minutes and 19 seconds left in the third quarter, and they had made it a 7-point contest. And I was so tired. In the next possession, I tried to run out the clock in the third quarter. I had no idea. I legitimately thought it was the fourth quarter. I was celebrating. I was like, why aren't they calling timeouts? It was embarrassing, but hilarious watching it back now. But we would score anyways, and I was absolutely howling. And then OU would immediately answer back, keeping the pressure right on me. And we would be tasked with running out the clock and not letting OU touch the ball again. So with 2 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock, we would take the snap and get the first down that would ultimately win us the football game, because on 4th and 6, OU would drop back the pass and throw an incomplete one that would set us up to take the knee to send us to the natty, baby. Oh my gosh. And old Jose Cadu would easily be the player of the game with over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns in one game. We literally stole Miami's whole flow, and it was working. But it all came down to this. A 24-hour live stream challenge to win a national championship with only quarterbacks would be determined by one game against Missouri. I know, it might have been the luckiest championship draw of all time, but still had to get the job done. Job finished, job not finished. What's there to be happy about? But on the very first drive of the game, Missouri would throw it right to my user, and that would set up an immediate touchdown for the boys. And at this point, I knew exactly what had to happen next. Because let me tell you what, no team had any problem blowing us out whenever we were at 35 overall. They had no problem getting victim mindset fired when we were a 45 overall. So I was going to have no problem beating the absolute brakes off of Missouri in the national championship, because we needed to send a message to the entire college football world that you can step on the little guy, but wait till the little guy gets big. You know what I'm saying? Which is why after we got our second interception of the game on their second drive of the game, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I needed to score exactly 100 points in the game. Not more, not less. 100 points on Missouri's head top. And fast forward to the third quarter with a little bit less than a minute left, and we would do exactly that. And the look of relief on my face says it all, bro. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, going through 24 hours, this bright ring light in my face the whole time. We were not just going to win the national championship with a team of only quarterbacks. We were going going to win the national championship with a team of only quarterbacks by scoring 100 points. And I'll show the roster right here so you guys can see. We looked at the throw power at the end of winning the game, so you can see that everyone on the roster truly was a quarterback. The throw powers are all 75 plus. Everyone on the team was a quarterback. But if I've learned nothing else from this experience, what I can tell you without a doubt is quarterback is the most important position on the field. If you enjoyed this, please click on this one. You would love this video. You would love this rebuild. You know how we beat Rice in the mid-off? We made Rice better than Texas. It was a fun one. I appreciate you for watching. Click on the new video, though. Get out of here. Go.